Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be about the Avatar Weiss Schwarz set that is coming out, and I have some exclusive card reveals to do. So thank you to Bushi Road for reaching out to me to give me these cards to show off to you guys. For those of you who are very familiar with Weiss Schwarz, I'll have a timestamp below so you can skip straight to the card reveals. For everyone else, like most of my subscribers, will be Avatar fans first, maybe trading card game fans second. Stick around to this part for a bit of an intro to Weiss Schwarz if you are not particularly familiar with the game. So as you can see, we're here to talk about Avatar Weiss Schwarz. It is a specific Avatar The Last Airbender themed Weiss Schwarz set that is coming out June 16th, 2023. So we will get into what is Weiss Schwarz. So of course, it is a trading card game here, where in this game, the various sets cover different shows and also video games. It is mostly sort of like anime themed, but in recent years they have branched out to do maybe more Western shows, like Ruby was one of their previous English edition originals, and now Avatar is a very hyped set that is on the verge of coming out. Each set that is the start of a new franchise is a starting point for the game. If you don't need to know much about the other sets to join this game. If you're an Avatar fan and don't particularly care about the other sets, all you need to focus on is the Avatar stuff. You don't need to know about all these other animes and stuff like that. You might be facing them, your opponent might be using a deck based on that anime, but you don't have to include those cards in your deck. That's not how the game works. You build your deck around your theme, you don't mix themes. So the Avatar set is the perfect start for Avatar fans. Within the game, there are three different types of cards. There are character cards, event cards, and also climax cards. So character cards are the ones that you see on the left here, and they have a level, but they're mainly signified by that power. So this Kirito here has, you can see, 10,000 power. They will be most of your deck. The card in the middle there is an event card, and this is more of a one-time use card, but you can see they both have levels. And then the very different type of card, the sideways orientated card, is the climax card, which is important as a general kind of boosting kind of effect for your characters, but they also have more trigger icons typically, and have an important effect on like defense in terms of damage cancellation in the game. In this game, the field is called the stage, and the kind of thematic idea of the game is that you're putting your characters on the stage. You're doing this kind of like reinterpretation through the card game of the events of your particular show, and that's why they're called events and climax cards, because you get the events from the anime, but then the climactic moments from the anime, along with a lot of the cards representing not just the character by themselves, but the characters in a very specific kind of like instance or moment idea from the show. So there'll be a variety of different versions of each character that is them from different parts of the show. Next, some just details on like deck building. You play a 50 card deck in this game. You can use up to 4 copies of any individual card. You basically will always play 8 climax cards in your deck. That's the max amount you can have, and you always pretty much want that. The remaining 42 cards will be a mix, obviously, of characters and events, but many decks will use little to no events. Some will use it a little bit more, but you'll probably never have a situation where your deck is more events than characters. Characters are, of course, the focus here. You can use cards from your theme's set, and you don't mix franchises. So the basic idea here, you can build an Avatar deck, or you can build like a Sword Art Online, Attack on Titan deck, whatever, but you don't build a combined Sword Art Online Avatar deck. You can have those two separate decks battle each other. That's the whole idea of the game, but you're not mixing them across like that. So that makes it like, that's why each set is sort of a start point if that's your particular favorite franchise. Each card will be one of 4 colors, blue, red, green, and yellow. In the Avatar set, the breakdown conveniently works out perfectly based on the colors. It is broken down by nation element. So the red cards will be your Fire Nation Firebender characters. Blue cards will be Water Tribe and Waterbender characters. Green cards will be Earth Kingdom and Earthbender characters, and yellow cards will of course be Air Nomad and Airbender characters. You saw some blue cards from the SAO set just before, because Kirito's kind of color from Sword Art Online is blue. The cards I have to show off from Avatar today are all yellow and Aang and Appa themed, so you get the idea there. Most decks will be 2 colors, but monocolor decks as well as 4-color decks are possible, but again 2 is typically the norm overall. And then just one final note on just the field and giving you a sense for how the game sort of like plays out, without going into too much detail. The focus here should be on the stage. So you have 5 slots on the stage, 3 center stage, 2 backstage. Your characters go on the stage slots, so you can have 5 characters on the field. The 3 center stage slots are where you do your attacking from. So every turn past the first turn of the game, you can attack 3 times. And this is how you inflict damage to your opponent to win, but you can also target their characters that are opposing you as well. When you do damage to your opponent flips cards from the top of their deck into their clock, as you can see there. And basically the idea is when they take 7 damage, they then get a level. And then when they take 7 damage at that level, they go up a level once again. And so the level determines what cards you can use. So you start out at level 0. Then when you take 7 damage, you can use your level 1 cards. When you take 7 again, you can use your level 2s. When you take 7 again, you can use your level 3s. But when you take 7 damage at level 3, you lose the game. So the idea is eventually over the course of the game to inflict at least 28 damage to your opponent. But there is a slight element of healing based on certain card effects that can come into play. So it's not always exactly 28 damage inflicted. Other than that, waiting room is just your basically discard pile. Memory is your sort of kind of removed from play type area. The climax area is literally just where you place a climax card when you play it. And your stock is where you put your energy. So when you attack, you flip over a card and it goes to your stock to be energy to use later on. And of course that card that you flip over for the attack, if it has a trigger icon, an effect will go off that will probably boost your skills. So I think that's enough of an intro to the game where you should be sort of familiar with what I'm talking about when I discuss the cards that I have to reveal today. Okay, so now onto the card reveal. So thank you to Bushi Road for getting in touch with me to reveal these cards. I have 7 cards to show off, 5 sort of unique cards, plus 2 of those cards I have the alternate rarity version of as well. They're all yellow cards and they're all either Aang and or Appa cards. So we'll start with the climax card and this sort of a 3-card combo that we have that I'll quickly go through, and we can talk about it a little bit more once we have all these cards covered. So the climax card, as you can see here in yellow, reunion with the group, depicting obviously the reunion of Appa with the group from Lake Laogai. It's all your characters get plus 1000 power and plus 1 soul. Very nice, pretty standard for climax, but it's nice. And the trigger icon is the choice icon, which is that if you have a card with the soul trigger icon, you can choose whichever one is there and either add it to your hand or put it into your stock as energy to pay for costs later on. So that is the Appa climax card. Then we have our first character card here, which is this uncommon character card, Aang Missing Companion. 6000 power, 1 soul. It does have the trigger icon mentioned from before, so it's a valid target for that trigger. Level 2, cost 1. And the effect is experience. If Aang Missing Companion, so this card, is in your level, this card gets -1 level while in your hand. It also has continuous. If all of your characters are World of Avatar, this card gets plus 1000 power. Now, all the characters in the Avatar set, I guess, are going to be World of Avatar, so that will always pretty much be active, pretty much, unless there's some sort of effect, negating effect in play. Auto. Then we have Climax combo. When reunion with the group, which is the climax card I just showed you guys, when that card is placed in your climax area, if this card is in your center stage and your hand has 6 or less cards and you have another World of Avatar character, you can then search your deck for the card, Appa Lost and put it on any position on your stage. Shuffle your deck, and that character, so the Appa, gets this ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put the top card of your deck into your stock as energy. I do have the alternate rarity version of Aang Missing Companion. This is an Avatar rare card. So we go from the uncommon rarity here up to Avatar rarity. So that's kind of what they're doing with this. They are mechanically the exact same card. It is just a higher rarity version. This will be a shinier, fancier foiling effect, and it's also alternate art, but otherwise they are the same card, so do keep that in mind. This is technically a new rarity for Avatar, but it's sort of just a set-specific rarity that they are using in some of their more recent sets to go with SP, triple rare and stuff like that. And you can see here the difference between it's like Aang blowing the bison whistle, searching for Appa, and then this higher rarity card has a more modern piece of more promo kind of imagery, which I think should make it look really, really nice with the kind of fancy foiling effect. So that's that. And then the final card as part of our kind of 3-card combo is the card mentioned in the climax combo there, Appa Lost. So again, another character. This card is a common, 1 soul. It's also a level 2, 1 cost. It also has the trigger icon. The first effect here is when this card attacks, if you have another World of Avatar character, this card gets plus 3000 power until the end of turn. That means that on your turn, it's going to have 10,000 power, but on your opponent's turn, it will remain at 7,000. So do keep that in mind for this second effect. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, where have we heard that before, you may put this card into your memory. If you do, at the beginning of your next draw phase, choose one Appa Lost in your memory and put it on any position in the stage. So it has this sort of like phase out effect. So you defeat one of their characters, this disappears into memory, and then it comes back on your turn. Effectively, it misses your opponent's turn entirely, meaning they can't attack it. And there's very few cards that interact with the memory in that way. So it's kind of a protection effect for Appa here. So that's overall like pretty good. And let's take a look at the combo like overall, sort of all 3 cards together. So the climax combo itself is obviously Aang Missing Companion with reunion with the group. But that combo then brings out Appa Lost from the deck for free, basically. Now, do keep in mind, the first effect of Aang Missing Companion is a level dropping ability. So if you have a version of itself in the level, it becomes level 1. Meaning, even though it's involving 2 level 2 cards, you can do this combo at level 1. So much earlier in the game than you typically would be able to. And that's a pretty big advantage. Like if you just get straight up to level 1 and then get these cards out straight away, that gives you a little bit of an advantage here. And because how the game works, and it is absolutely possible to like kind of force in a way deciding what card goes into your level, this feels like it is something that you can absolutely make happen. And then also remember that by the time you have these 2 cards out on the field, you also have the final effect here, which is that Appa gets the additional ability when it takes out an opponent's character. You may put the top card of your deck into your clock. So that's another kind of use for it as well. It gets to protect itself, but then it also gives you an energy if you defeat an opponent's character. And do keep in mind, you're probably going to play multiple copies of all of these cards, so you can potentially do the climax combo another turn, and maybe you have multiple like copies of each card on the field, and a lot of stuff could be happening here. So it's a pretty cool combo, I think. So getting back to the other cards here, we'll go on to this one, the event card, Yip Yip. So it's an event, it's not a character card, so there's no power here. It's a one-time use card. It's level 1, 0 cost, no trigger icon. The fist symbol you can see there means that it's a counter card, meaning that it is one of the rare cards you can use on your opponent's turn, as you'll see from the effect. So search your deck for 1 World of Avatar character, reveal it to your opponent, and then put it into your hand. Then choose a card in your hand and put it into the waiting room. So it's kind of like that kind of replacement effect of it's kind of like a kind of draw 1, discard 1, But instead of drawing, it's a search your deck and choose a character. So that's actually quite good. You get just to choose whatever you want. Once it's a character, and discard a card. And then choose up to one of your World of Avatar characters that's in battle and move it to an open position on the stage. So this is the point at which you kind of have to use it during your opponent's turn to protect one of your characters which is about to be attacked. If you don't want that character to get taken out, you activate this during your opponent's turn, and even though they've chosen that character to attack, you then get to use this card to move it to a different area, and they can't just change the attack target at that point. So you can move it to another position in the kind of front row, or you can just move it to the back row to fully protect it. So I think this is pretty nice. Both sides of the card, the protection effect, but also the sort of more hand sculpting effect. I think it seems pretty good, and this is an uncommon. So we go from that then into the next card here. I think this is the last card I have as well, but there's also an alternate rarity version of this. So this is a rare. It is Aang Blending In. It's a character, rare, 4,500 power, 1 soul, no trigger icon, level 1 0 cost. So that's pretty good. And the effect, it's a long effect, but it's very, very interesting and sort of like flavorful for the Avatar set, Avatar aspect of this. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, so when you play it, put the top 4 cards of your deck into your waiting room. If the total number of colors revealed among those cards is 2 or more, this card gets plus 2,000 power until the end of turn. If there are 3 or more colors, this card gets this ability. And then if there are 4 or more colors, you may choose a World of Avatar character in your waiting room and put it into your stock. The 3 color ability that you get is, when this card attacks, you may pay the cost, which is 1 stock. If you do, during that attack, perform a trigger check twice. So you flip 2 cards when you attack. This is pretty nice, and keep in mind that is stacking. It's not just that if you get 4, you get the 4 effect. You get the 4, the 3, and the 2 effect, and it works kind of that way based on what you get. But do keep in mind, again, going back to the start of the card, you are only putting 4 cards from the top of your deck into your waiting room to check. So to get the max out of this, you have to hope that the 4 cards are one of each of the 4 colors, which, you know, if you're playing a multicolor deck, it's taking out the amount of cards of each color that there possibly are. So like in a 50 card deck here, you probably have like, what, 12, 13 of each color, depending on what ratios you're playing. And the stats kind of don't particularly line up for you to maybe succeed as much as you'd think. So a lot of the times you're probably only going to get the effect for 2 colors, which is just 2,000 power. Whereas I think what you really want out of this card to gain the advantage is the level 3 or the level 4 effect. So I'm wondering, will there be a way to sort of kind of stack this card in your favor? Will there be cards in yellow or other colors that allow you to more heavily stack the deck? Will there be effects here that allow, like, when Aang cards are in play, for cards to be treated as every color? Because if that was the idea, and this is like almost like guaranteed with other cards, that could work out quite well. But based on what I've been told, the idea with this set is that the colors basically do match up with the colors of the elements / nations. So yellow is the air nomad airbending color, green is the earthbending earth kingdom color, fire is the fire nation firebending color, and water is the water tribe waterbending color. But I've been told Aang is in all 4 colors apparently, and there are other cards that have sort of like Avatar-esque effects like this, where it is a thing where Aang likes to have multiple colors. So I'm wondering if you potentially go for like the kind of 4 color like Aang specific deck. Is there cards maybe at like level 0 potentially, or level 3, that like allow you to kind of like defeat the kind of color kind of differences? That could be really interesting, and that would definitely bring this card into play a little bit more. Just on its own, you kind of think like, it's a little bit kind of coin flippy if you're going to get the value out of it, but it's still pretty cool as a card. The alternate rarity version of this card is obviously exactly the same, except it's a rare, so it gets rarity bumped up to being a super rare. It's alternate art as well. Obviously from the same scene, Aang as Kuzan, but also Aang as Kuzan doing the Flameo Hotman stuff. They even have the flavor text on the super rare version of the card that they don't on the normal version of the card. So that's pretty nice. And again, this card will probably be a little bit more easy to get because super rare SR is the kind of lowest of the super high rarities, basically. So that's an interesting thing. If you want a little bit more detail on like how the rares are going to look, here's a picture of some of my own cards that I have from Weiss Schwarz. So along the top are basically the standard rarity versions of the cards. We have a double rare in green, a rare in yellow, and then a normal climax card in red. Along the bottom is the kind of parallel versions of those cards. So the green is double rare goes into SP. So you can see the crazy foiling effect plus the kind of hot stamp. Obviously, there's a voice actor signature there. For the avatar cards, they're just going to have some sort of a special avatar hot stamp. So that'll be interesting to see how they look. The rare goes up to being a super rare, like we just talked about. And the main thing here is, of course, the foiling is much, much crazier. In that set specifically, that Sword Art Online set, the cards were basically exactly the same. The art is slightly offset, slightly differently. But it wasn't full-on alternate art like it's going to be in Avatar for super rares. And then very interestingly, the climax card goes from being not foiled at all to being a triple rare plus alternate art. So that gives you some sense for how the cards are actually going to look, with, of course, the uncommons going into Avatar rares also being in this as well for the Avatar set specifically. So do keep that in mind also. So, wrapping it up here, of course, the Avatar set is out June 16th, 2013. There's going to be a trial deck plus your starter set, basically, booster packs and booster boxes, as well as the Cabbage Merchant deck box there is part of the supply set for Avatar, which is, I think it's 5 booster packs, the deck box for Cabbage Merchant card sleeves, and I think you get 1 of 5 promo cards that are specific to the supply set also. A quick note on the supply set and specifically the promos in the supply set. I didn't know this at the time I recorded the rest of the video, but the 5 promo cards available in the supply set are the same as the 5 box topper cards if you buy a booster box. The supply set has those cards in foil, and then the box toppers are non-foil. You get 1 box topper per box and 1 foil promo per supply set. So do just be aware of that. It actually makes collecting the kind of promo cards slightly easier this way versus what I initially thought was that the 2 groups of 5 cards were actually separate, but they're not. So it's kind of like a gift set style product for Avatar. So all this is going to be out in June. I will be doing some product openings. I'll be doing a little bit of content of maybe some gameplay plus some deck building stuff, but I don't claim to be an expert at Weiss Schwarz, so it will be very much from more of a casual perspective, more of the kind of Avatar focus, who knows a little bit about the game, rather than being like expert card analysis on what the top deck is going to be. So that has been the video. Once again, thanks to Bushiroad for reaching out to me, giving me these cards to reveal. But definitely in the comments, I'd like to know what are your guys' thoughts on these cards that I had to reveal, and especially for Avatar fans who are maybe not super familiar with this game. Does seeing some of these cards make you now more interested in trying out the game or not? Definitely let me know. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.